Hello, BookTube. I have another Irish stew video for you today on a bright, sunny Saturday that has been a nightmare, but I'll be getting to that. That will be in the me section of the video, and we're not there yet, because first we're going to do the world, then we're going to do the United States, my own benighted country, not only an evil country, the most evil country in the world, but the most evil country in the history of the world. Then YouTube, broader YouTube, not just BookTube, and then just BookTube, and then we'll get to me. So I will save the kvetching until the end. And we will start in the world. We'll do something lighthearted. It's the weekend. We'll start something lighthearted. And that is something that I mentioned yesterday. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the younger brother of King Charles III, has been stripped of his royal titles. He is no longer Prince Andrew. The population will still call him Prince Andrew, just like they will call his wife Duchess Fergie, and we still idiomatically refer to Princess Diana. But nevertheless, he's not a working royal anymore. He has no titles anymore. Those have been removed. And I've thought that it was an interesting subject. The House of Windsor fascinates me anyway. I have been very interested, for instance, in the backstage mechanics of what's going to happen. Because in addition to being a Prince of the Blood, he is also the Duke of York. He has many royal titles that have large real estate portfolios and land money coming to him. And if he doesn't have those titles, I don't think he can collect that money. I think he's living on the dole of his brother. And probably he might have money socked away. I doubt it. From the way he's behaved in the last 10 years, I doubt he has money socked away. There are probably irrevocable trusts associated with him that I haven't looked into that. I'm sure that there are all sorts of details, and I'm sure that some of them can be uncovered. But that's not the subject. That's not the aspect of it that has been interesting me in the last 24 hours, since the last time I talked about Mr. Andrew with you. What I've been interested in, of course, the reason why he was divested of his titles was his connection with Jeffrey Epstein. And the massive theorizing online by conspiracy theorists has been wondering why the timing. Almost like they sense, someone somewhere senses that the Epstein files, the whole tranche of them, the whole available documentation, is finally going to be forced into public. Right now, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is perverting the entire course of the American government to protect Donald Trump. The racist, sexist, fascist, lying, moron, rapist fraud from Queens, who is probably severely implicated in the Epstein files. Not just written affidavits, but also video evidence, audio evidence, money transfers, the whole mass of that documentation that is possessed not only by the U.S. government, but also by the Epstein family, the Epstein estate, enjoined, as long as the government is sitting on it, from releasing it themselves. There can be, as I mentioned, there can be no other reason why Mike Johnson is going to such comical lengths to stop this from becoming public. The only reason that it would be is because it is offensive to his God. And that's the connection that's been making me think about Mr. Andrew today, is that, I don't quite know how to put this. I mean, it's also self-evident. The Crown settled a massive amount of money because rather than have Prince Andrew go to court. They settled a massive amount of money after what was perhaps the most disastrous interview that any human being has ever given to any other human being in the history of the species. where Andrew, well, I'm sure you know that interview. A whole TV movie was made out of it. It is almost unbelievable. When you watch it, you almost don't believe what you're hearing and seeing. You are watching perhaps the most guilty person ever caught on film since Richard Nixon. And that settlement, a massive settlement, was made in order to shut down this whole subject. We will not go to court. We will settle with your putative litigant out of court for a gigantic amount of money, amount of money that you don't settle with if you think you have a chance of winning. If you think the person is innocent, you don't do that. And now, on top of that, all of his titles have been revoked. And the thing that I've been thinking about is, I hope it goes without saying that Andrew is guilty. You only have to watch that interview to know he is absolutely guilty. He is guilty of at least what one accuser accused him of. Only he wouldn't be one. And what else does he know? he's been the luckiest person in the world for the last 5 years. You wouldn't think so, because his own nephew can't stand even to look at him in public. But he's been the luckiest person in the world because he's alive, he's very prominent, and incredibly guilty. So what does he know? How guilty is he? I'm curious about, I guess, not the legal aspects of it, because I don't think he has any legal exposure. But the crime aspects of it are the thing that I am now curious about. I wonder what could be done to compel testimony. Once upon a time, the King Charles III's previous two holders of that royal title could have compelled a brother to testify or leave the country. You will go before an in-camera interview and you will tell everything that you know. They can't do that anymore. The king doesn't have that kind of power, but Parliament does. And I wonder what will come of it. Andrew is not beloved by the public. I suppose there might have been a moment where his wife was, and his daughters, I think, are probably above reproach. But he's not beloved. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder what is coming for him in the coming months. So that is the world thing. It's just idle. It's a dark subject, but he's a silly person. So it's easy to consider it a kind of a lighthearted thing. And then we can move on to the United States. And when we're talking about the United States, it's a big country, but the only important part is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's the only real part that you need to pay attention to. And just this morning, Massachusetts made the news because there was an explosion at Harvard Medical School, the Longwood campus, just across the river in Cambridge. And immediate investigation, not of the incompetent FBI, but of our own state investigators, made it pretty clear right from the beginning that it was not an accident. There are all kinds of ways that you could cause a massive explosion at any Harvard medical lab accidentally, but this was not an accident. So the story is unfolding. It's only a few hours old as I make this video, but very interesting to know what's going on there, and find out, who's responsible, that sort of thing. So that's an ongoing story. An explosion at Harvard. And then for broader YouTube, we can come back to an oldie but a goodie, the assassination of MAGA mouthpiece Charlie Kirk. Which you would think, isn't that old news? I mean, yes, it shocked the whole world, and there was that horrifying video that has now been suppressed everywhere. And the assassin was caught, and he is now on trial for his life. And MAGA, of course, wants him dead. They want him beaten to death with iron rods in Times Square, I suppose, or whatever. But they definitely want the death penalty. If anything, they want the death penalty several times over, if you can do that. Can we kill him and then shock him awake and then kill him again? Because MAGA loves blood rights. They're the central tenet of their cult is cruelty. We haven't heard anything from that suspect, Tyler Robinson, but what we have heard from incompetent Kash Patel, the podcaster who is in charge of the FBI, what we've heard from his incompetent FBI is a story that, even for me, does not make any sense at all. If you list out what the FBI says is the course of actions that Tyler Robinson took until he was apprehended that day, none of it makes any sense. And the internet has been quick to jump on that story. It hasn't just been Ian Carroll and Candace Owen. It's been a whole bunch of other people. A whole bunch of people have come forward. A whole bunch of, for instance, firearms experts have come forward and said, well, a 30-06 rifle from that distance would have taken Charlie Kirk's head clean off and sprayed the entire tent with blood. It wouldn't be this neat little hole that we saw that then started to bleed profusely. It wouldn't be that. It would be catastrophic. And of course, all of them, being insane, as I believe all gun owners are, immediately took to their backyards and started blowing things up with their 30-aught rifles to show that, to demonstrate what would happen to a human head. But it isn't just that. It's everything. It's all the problems with that official story. And I mention this in terms of YouTube because the tempo on this story is starting to pick up a little, because Tyler Robinson is eventually going to go to trial. If he isn't killed in prison, he's going to go to trial. It's going to be soon. And that is odd. That is an odd feeling, because no matter what I might think about some of the weird conspiracy theorists and what they say, I think Candace Owens, for instance, is an absolute foolish figure. Someone who says that she was out walking with a friend of hers and decided that dinosaurs are fake and gay. An entire discipline, a mountain-sized discipline about which she knows absolutely nothing. And she was perfectly happy to repeat it over and over again because she's an imbecile. So I'm not just talking about her. I'm talking about other people, trained experts in firearms, in ballistics, in emergency response, in crime scene reconstruction, experts outside of Kash Patel's incompetent FBI. Because Kash Patel, the crazy podcaster, a moron podcaster, was put in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And what was the first thing he did? Fire experienced investigators. All he wants are loyalists. He wants people who answer to the boss. Not forensics, not the rule of law, not materialism. Just his religion. Just the boss. If the boss says that blue is yellow, then blue is yellow. That is FBI policy. And anyone who couldn't say that, anyone who said, oh, come on. I've been working here for 20 years. If there's a major crime, God forbid, like a public figure being assassinated, you're going to want me. No, they were just told, go, you're gone. No, it wasn't the response that Kash Patel wanted. He wanted to have them jailed and then burned. Because it's heresy. It's not just insubordination. It's heresy as far as he's concerned. It violates his religion. But regardless of his motivation or the end result, he did get rid of all those people. So the FBI that's investigating this is bone incompetent. But that isn't true of a lot of the people who are examining it from the outside. Without any of the documentation. There appears to be no death certificate. There appears to be no autopsy report. There appears to be no burial. No, nothing. Not a lot of it adds up. And nothing about the putative assassin adds up. And a lot of people have been examining it from the outside without any interior documentation and saying, regardless of what the official story is, it can't be true. None of it makes any sense. And on YouTube, those things are starting to ramp back up as the closer we get to Tyler Robinson going to trial. If he lives, he will go to trial and may speak on his own behalf for the first time. Then what happens? Anyway, I wanted to mention that. I don't have anything to link to, and I don't have anything to link to for BookTube either, because for BookTube, I just want to mention Pure Joy, the pure joy of it being the 1st of November, which means I'm getting suffused in November TBRs, which is great. That is always fun. People getting on camera and saying, all right, well, November is all in front of me. What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? There's some events. There's Die November. There's Dr. November. There's Nonfiction November. There's a whole bunch of stuff. A whole bunch of BookTube events, but also other things as well. I love watching that sort of thing. I don't make TBRs myself, usually. I will make sometimes a TBR for you, a TBR-BY, to be read by you. But I don't make TBRs on my own. Most of my reading is determined by the publication calendar of the major mainstream publishers in America, and the rest of it is mostly dictated by BookTube events or by the whim of what I find at the Prattle Bookshop, or something like that. So there's an added element of FOMO when I watch other people do November TBR. So I don't have anything to link to. I just wanted to note that I've been enjoying that, and I'm sure there'll be more. This is only the first of the month, so there'll be lots of others. And then we get to the subject of me. And the subject of me I'm going to try to keep brief. Mainly it boils down to that I'm having one of those days. You know what that means? We all know what that means, right? Where you get up as innocent as a newborn chick, and you are tra-la-laing about your day, and all of a sudden something goes wrong. Something seems to work against you that doesn't have a mind of its own. It's just random, but it's not working. And it has the last 5,000 times. It's not working. It's suddenly going against you. And then something else will go wrong. What are the odds that that thing would fall, or that that thing would snap, or that that thing would break, or that that thing wouldn't work when it has worked 5,000 times before? What are the odds? Okay, well, something like that happens in the course of a day, and you remark on it. Maybe you mention it, and then you move on. 10 things like that happen, all in a row, with nothing happening to counteract it. Nothing going as normal. I'm not saying something going well. I'm saying not even as normal. Where everything is fighting against you. Everything is, oh yeah? You think you're going to do that? No, I don't think so. No, this isn't going to work. No, this is going to break. No. When that happens, when 10 of those things happen in a row, that means you're having one of those days. You're having one of those days. And I'm having one of those days. And when I realized it at like 10:30 this morning, when something comically wrong happened. I didn't think it was funny, but it was comically wrong. It reminded me of a time, oh God, it must be 2 decades ago, where I was having one of those days in an epic way, in an older version of Hyde Cottage. and I was wrestling with a book that I'd got in the mail, and it wasn't working. The package wasn't opening when I could look at it and see that it should have. And finally, I wrestled it open, and the book popped out of the package, cartoonishly. It popped out of the package just as a roommate was opening the front door to the apartment. The book hit the ground at the exact right angle to bounce up and out the door of the apartment, and then proceeded to bounce down 3 landings of stairs without ever hitting flat. It just kept bouncing in the air all the way down to the front landing of the building itself, an inch from the outside world. Nothing at that level has happened today, but like 10:30 this morning, something almost that bad happened, where I was cursing in 6 different languages when it did happen. Now I look back and say, well, that's just comical. That is when you know, and that's when I knew. And then I had to decide what all of us have to decide when we're clearly going to be having one of those days, when there's nothing you can do to turn it around. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to turn it around. Everything is still going to resist you. For instance, this video will not upload. I'm sure that it won't. But I got to vent to somebody, and you're elected. When we're having one of those days, you have to decide what you're going to do about it. What are you going to do about it? In the 21st century, those of you who have been taking mood-altering medication since you were 3 and you've been vaping since you were 10, I get the impression that your response to what am I going to do about it is, I'm going to crawl into bed and curl up in the fetal position and wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow will not be one of those days. I'm just going to retreat from the world completely. And it's a lucky thing I almost never get out of my pajamas. I'm just going to retreat into bed, put my thumb in my mouth, and just pull the covers over my head until tomorrow. But what if you don't do that? Do you have a go-to strategy when you're not just going to retreat and give up? What if you have to be out in the world a little? I'm not out in the world, of course, but I'm not retired. I'm not retired, but I have to do things during the day. I have work to do. When you have to do that, what is your strategy for dealing with one of those days? Not that it matters, because A, this video is not going to upload correctly, and B, it's a well-known fact, man, that no one watches this far in a video. So no sense asking a question. No one's watching past 60 seconds. Sorry, man. It's the way it is. It's a rough business. BookTube sucks. What can you say? Nevertheless, I am asking, do you do a little retreat? Is that the time to break out the Haagen-Dazs? Or a comfort book? Or something like that? Do you slow down, pull your horns in a little, and give the world a little less purchase to attack you at every random spot? I don't know. I'm up for suggestions. Feel free to tell me what you do when you're having one of those days. That would be great, because I'd rather not have one of those nights. But anyway, that's your Irish stew video for today. A little bit on the light side because it's the weekend. I'm sure we'll be back to heavy stuff in no time at all. But in the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.